Hey, what is happening, friendlies and non-friendlies? How's everybody doing? We have a trailer to watch, so let's check it out. I'm back off of doctor duty, so let's start getting back into some content. We got an Avatar game that was announced today at ITOwl France, I think. I don't know if it was announced at France, but it was announced, so let's watch it back. I did all that talking and I was muted. So, as I was saying, my initial impression is that I do like it and I'm excited about it. I did read some other people's reactions. You know, the response isn't necessarily glowing. A lot of people feel like it's a bit on the cheap side, that maybe it's a bit like a Flash game. And they're not too optimistic about it. Me personally, I also think it looks a bit like a Flash game, but I also do think that it looks good, like the actual drawings. They said that they hand drew it or whatever. I don't know exactly what that means. I'm gonna guess that it's a sprite and it's not a 3D model. I'm not too sure, that's not my expertise, but I'll just try to examine this as someone who plays fighting games and just, you know, give my take on it. I do think it looks like a Flash game, but I like Flash games. So admittedly, I do think it does look like a Flash game, but let's go through it and analyze it a bit more. So we start off, we have to address the facts first. They mentioned that this was going to be an assist-based fighter. So you call assist in kind of like Mortal Kombat 1, but you don't actually tag into partners, you just have assists. The details of everything I'm not too sure about, but that is what we know from now. Is has 12 total characters and it's going to be an assist based fighter. There's some sort of movement based system that they're bragging about, and you know, the game is, you know, coming out relatively soon, summer 2026. It's like 8 to 9 months from now, so this game is coming out pretty soon. So here we have Zuko versus Aang. Let's just analyze this move real quick. Aang looking very floaty, looks like an overhead right there. There are some things I do like about this. I do like some of the impact frames. I do like some of it, like the person receiving the hit. I liked a bit of a, just like a zagged line effect that kind of, like, you know, it's like an exaggerated blur on the characters as the moment they get hit. What I don't like is that a lot of the moves, I don't think impact is the problem. I think it doesn't have any wind up. There's not a lot of in between, right? And Avatar is notorious for having a lot of like wind up based moves, especially Aang. So it's kind of jarring to see him go from like a very close kind of stiff stance and then just immediately be at the opponent. And it doesn't look like he's putting any of his weight or body into it. You know, that's the jarring part. There's no wind up. You know, let's go back and just look at that move real quick. I'm not going to make fun of the animations too much. I'm just going to just, you know, observe this part. Okay. This move right here, I don't know what the hell is happening here. There's also a lot of hit stop. Like the moment the character gets hit, it takes like 4 extra frames for them to react to it. sometimes. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I think that's like my biggest issue with the animations. There's not enough wind up to any of the moves. And as you see Appa right here, you see Appa in the background. Appa is not part of the stage. I believe Appa is part of the assist based systems. And you get to, I believe you get to choose your assist, or maybe it's tied to the character. You know, we'll find out eventually, but yeah. So there's going to be a lot of characters that are going to make this game and some characters who aren't going to make the cut. You are not going to be able to choose the assist characters if it goes like, you know, other fighting games that I've played. So there's going to be a lot of representation outside of the 12 characters that you actually play as, like Aang, what is it? Aang, Zuko, Azula, Toph, Katara, what's the brother's name? Sokka, Korra, and I believe those were the starting 6. All right, so you have a starting 7. So that leaves us with 5 extra characters that we have that are unannounced. I'm going to take a jab and say that those characters are going to be, one of them is going to be Fire Lord Ozai. All right, we got 5 characters. One of them is going to be Fire Lord Ozai. One's going to be, I'm just going to say Suki. One of them's going to be Suki. It's not going to be Mei entirely, because if you watch this trailer, if you watch it back, you see Mai in the background. So if that's any indicator, it's going to mean that Azula's, her crew is probably going to be regulated to being assist. So Mai entirely are probably not going to make the cut of actually being who you control. They're just going to be your assist. That's why I didn't put them in. I think they would be like the main cut type of characters, but they're not going to make it. Mai's not going to make the cut, at least. So I think Suki is going to take the place as the character archetype who doesn't bend necessarily, but also has a lot of skills of, you know, maneuvering around. So I think she's going to make the cut over Ty Lee. I think that pretty much wraps up the entirety of the Last Airbender side. You could say Uncle Iroh, you could say he could make the cut, probably, but I think he might fit into the assist category because he doesn't really fight that much in the show. But he could be, you know, I don't know, that's kind of up in the air. So I think after those extra 2, Suki and Ozai, the remaining 3 characters is probably going to be from Korra. And if we were to just put a guess on what type of characters will be, it's probably going to be 3 of the villains. Zahir, Amon, and Kuvira is probably going to wrap up the entire roster. But the beauty of it is that fighting games don't end their support the moment that they launch. So there's probably going to be more characters added later on if this is a success. So definitely support it if you like the series and you like the franchise, because maybe this is a, you know, maybe they're testing the waters to see if people are still interested in the franchise. I would like to believe that the animations are going to be touched up. I would like to believe that they will be. We're going to put it back in slow motion. Why is there a sleep timer for YouTube? What is that all about? Do people just fall asleep watching YouTube? So yeah, that does look like an overhead. Overhead into a low, into a weird looking move. Zuko has an anti-air fireball, and then you see Zuko's assist in the background probably, or whoever, you know, who they picked as an assist. Obviously, this character, I don't know her name, but she's not a character who's tied to either Zuko or Aang, so she's not. It's not going to be locked to the character. It's going to be something you choose to fit with your character. So Zuko has an anti-air fireball of some sort. Okay, interesting. Also, Aang kind of glows red there for a minute before he gets hit. That could just be a fire effect. It's a big ass juggle state. Alright. That move looks like it's kind of crazy. Hits on both sides, probably. Alright. It's a big ass juggle state. Into a dive kick, brings him back down. And then hits him back up. Into the daggers. Right. I like Core. Why do people be hating on Core? He's cool. This move is what stood out to me. Core earth bends behind her and puts a prop onto the stage. She puts a prop on the stage and stands on it. However, that is probably all just one move. That is a crazy move right there. She avoids, she sways away, hops onto a block behind her. And yeah, that's all one move. You could tell it's all one move because she never goes back into her idle stance. Maybe she has options out of this. But it does look like it's all one maneuver. And then she does a very low jump with potential to cross up. That looks like it could potentially hit on both sides. I would like to know how this game is going to operate. Is it going to have a guard button? You hold back the block? That is going to make a big difference, right? Once we know what this game is about. Because the way it's looking is looking like a hold back to block type of game. Alright, let's look at that one more time. Yeah, because you look at Core's animations, right? What I meant, but the wind up. You see, it doesn't look like she's putting any of her weight behind any of the attacks. Right, the one move that looks like she's putting her weight behind it was that left hook right here. This left hook, not that one. Well, that one kind of too. Spin and to the left hook right here. Those are the only two moves that I think I've seen in the entire trailer where it looks like they put their weight behind the attack and there's actually a bit of wind up behind it. And then you look at this next one, it just kind of just happens. You know? Cool. That kind of looked like a target combo to me. Oh my god, okay. Yeah, this is where the animation really starts to show itself as being early. Right. I don't want to be too negative, but this is like the most damning part of it. This is the most damning part of the entire trailer as far as animation looking stiff. Aang is a floaty dude. He's supposed to be flying, and you know his nickname is Twinkle Toes, for goodness sake. But he's so rooted and grounded here in each one of these strikes. And you just look at this one right here. This is going to be the last time I rip on it. Right here. If you look at this right here, first of all, that big ass wind effect. Look at this. These are one frame in between. You know, this is what needs to be, you know, adjusted. Right, and hopefully that's what they're doing, and you know, they're just wanted to put the game out there. But there's so much of that in this trailer, right? There's so much of this happening in this trailer. The staff magically switching to his offhand, just swapping the model around. This is what makes the game look cheap and like a flash game. If they just get rid of most of this and at least put some in between in here, it would help it a lot. Alright. And also, Aang is I just feel like he's not represented that well in this trailer. Outside of the first sewing against Zuko, he's just so grounded. You know, Aang is a floaty guy. And I feel like, you know, they could make him fly a bit more. You know, I mean, Zuko's looking more athletic than Aang, and that's just kind of not true. These are all the super moves. Potentially all of those were just basic supers. Hopefully not the big supers. Alright, let's watch it back in full speed again. I think it looks good. It looks good enough for me. I like the how the background is clearly the background, you know, and the fact that the characters are so vibrant up front does add to a bit of the cheapness. It feels like they're on a separate plane. I'm just pointing that out. It does stand out. But I do like the way it looks. Got people flying in the background. Nah, I think that's pretty much all the info we got on this so far. Yeah, I think that it's going to be decent. Here's the thing. I already like it more than City of the Wolves and 2KXO. I think that's what it's called. 2XKO. This reminds me of some game on the PS1. I can't think of the name. I wish we got to see what the assists do in this trailer, but we don't get to see that. But perhaps these characters, these portraits that they're showing, are indicators of what the stages are. Because we got Toph in the middle of what, the South Pole, the North Pole, or wherever. It's clearly a place she's never been. Right? She's never been in that location. So maybe that's an indicator of the stages right here. We have one of the poles. We have this location. We have wherever that is. Probably it looks like the stage that's in this trailer. And then we have the place where Katara and Sokka grew up. We don't see. Do we ever see Korra with an assist in the background? I think we saw her with Mai as her assist. Also, the fact that the assists are in the background is also worth mentioning within itself. Normally, they just are off screen. And I'm not sure, right? I'm saying this like I'm sure, but I feel like they stick out so much from the background that I feel like they have to be. I feel like they stick out so much from the background. They have to be the assist. I feel like Appa is an assist, Mai is an assist, and that's kind of setting the table for what the assists are going to be. I mean, he's moving way too much to just be a back part of the background. He's got to be an assist, right? Quote me on that. This looks like it's a winning pose, probably. Yeah, because why? These are the assists. They have to be. And the only reason why I feel comfortable saying that is because of this chick right here. She is never fucking around. She's never around these characters. So she has, Appa's an assist. This chick and her pet with the tongue that paralyzes you is an assist. And May is an assist. May is probably just going to be throwing daggers at you, probably. Help you get into and apply pressure, maybe continue a combo. This thing is most likely going to paralyze you, allow you to get free hit of some sort, perhaps. Appa, I have no clue what he's going to be doing. If I were to guess, he's probably just going to fly across the stage, or maybe ground pound the stage, probably. Also, one thing we need to talk about, it's not just about picking characters who we think are cool. It's also about the character functionality within the fighting game. You have to consider that. It's the character functionality. So we already have Zuko as the firebender representative. He's going to be throwing fire and doing all that type of stuff. So the chances of Uncle Iroh being in there, not looking that hot. Right? Pun intended. Not really. We have Toph, so she's the Earth representative. Chances of there being another Earthbender with only 12 characters, not that high. Could there be a Metal Bender? Could be. And I think that's going to be Kuvira. We have Aang, yes, the Earthbender. And I did say Zahir. But I think that's different, right? Because Korra is begging for characters. They are begging, they're like bleeding out, dry, dehydrated. They need a character. Zahir is, I believe, the best character other than Korra in the entire show. As far as villains, at least. Some people's opinions may vary. I think Zahir is the most notorious villain and antagonist in the show. So he's more than likely, if any character from Korra is going to make it, it's probably going to be Zahir. Asami, I'm not too sure about Asami, because Asami's role, I think, is going to be taken by a last Airbender character. And I think that's going to be Suki. And also we already have Sokka. So we have two non-benders, potentially. We have one non-bender. I'm getting too far ahead of myself. We have one non-bender in Sokka, who's throwing boomerangs. He's the boomerang character. Aang is going to be the mobility character, if he's anything like his actual character. And he's going to be flying across the stage, probably, doing a lot of Twinkle Toad related stuff. We went over Toph. She's going to be the Earthbender. She's probably going to have some metal bending in there as well. But it's probably mostly going to be Earthbending that she does, right? I'm just thinking of it like a functionality from representing the characters as a gameplay mechanic. Azula, she is another firebender, yes, but she's a blue firebender, right? We see the blue, she's just like Goku. He's yellow, then he's blue. We have blue fire. So it's case closed. She's also the lightning user, so she's going to be representing the lightning. And she has the jets, the jets out of her feet. She's most likely, she sticks out enough to be a second fireball representer. And plus she's blue, and she's cool. Katara, she's a waterbender, and we have Korra, who's also a waterbender. And Korra is more of a mixed character, right? Korra looks like she's like a jack of all trades character from what I'm seeing. She's mixing everything in her combos. She's mixing everything into her combos. She's got a rock evasive into a fire backflip, probably crosses up, airstrike, fire kick, water splash, water kick. Right, she's probably going to just be mixing everything up. So she's the mixed character functionality. And Katara is going to be the specialist of waterbending. Now that leaves my Amon pick, who is also a waterbender. Spoilers, but he doesn't show that, right? He doesn't show that until so he's probably not going to be represented as a waterbender, is what I'm saying. So count that as another non-bender added to the game. That's all 7. That's all 7, right? And so the other characters I mentioned, Amon, another non-bender. Mechanic-wise, we have Fire Lord Ozai, who he's the main bad guy. He has to be there, right? And he's going to be doing like some fireballs from the air, probably. So he's going to be probably the Akuma-like function, air fireballs and the whole BS like that, probably. And Suki, because my justification for her, she's not like Sokka. He doesn't throw boomerangs. He doesn't throw projectiles at all, I believe. She has fans. She has fans. That's it. She has fans. She's going to be the combat specialist of the game. The in-close combat specialist. Potentially a grappler. Potentially. Who knows? But I think there's room for her. Whereas Ty Lee is mostly just a striker. There's room for her as well, but the inclusion of Mai as a support character leads me to doubt Ty Lee. I would have thought that both of them would have made the cut, but maybe they will as a DLC later on. My other pick was Kuvira. She's going to be the metal bender. That's really all I got for you. That's all I got for that. She's the metal bender. I don't think Tenzin's going to make the cut because Aang and Zahir have to be in the game. Aang is in the game already. Zahir also has to be in the game. Tenzin does not need to be in the game. Aang's in the game. You know, it's going to be weird if Aang is in the game as a kid and then his son is in the game as an adult. That's going to be pretty weird. And also, if they perform the same functionality, it's just not going to make any sense. Zahir, at least he can fly, you know? He could fly, right? That's just his stick. He could fly. And he's also like athletic and evasive and in ways that are kind of not very airbender, but more like a street airbender. So I think there's just no room for Tenzin in the game. No, let me get this clear. The characters I am crossing out more than likely will be in the game, but they won't be the fighting characters. They'll be in the support roles. Tenzin is going to be a support character. Uncle Iroh is going to be a support character. Ty Lee, support character. Probably the rest of the the warriors from Suki's clique, probably support characters. The core characters like Azumi and Bolin and the other guy, probably. I'm just saying, they fit enough? Are they worth their dollar bill to pick as a slot, as a main character slot? Do they fit the bill to stand with the rest of these other characters? I don't think so. I don't think so. To me, they're beneath Mai and Ty Lee as far as, you know, characters people really like and would rather want in the game. Of course, core fans are, you know, they have a different opinion, but I think that they're worth it enough to be in the game, but not as a main character slot. So yeah, I think there's only going to be 12 main characters at launch, but it's probably going to be more like double the amount in the assists, because the assists won't have to animate all that much. Ozai, Suki, Amon, Zahir, Kovir. Yeah, I think that wraps it up. That's 12. There's no other avatar character that can be in there. The only other character that could make the cut is Uncle Iroh. I think he's the only other character who could make the cut and replace Suki, probably. Uncle Iroh being in the game cuts into the lane of Azula and Zuko, so I don't think he's going to be in the game. His involvement would cut the legs off of Zuko, and Azula, so I think he fits as a support character. I saw people mentioning that maybe Aang is going to have an adult skin. That's not how fighting games work. Yeah, that's not how fighting games work. You need the model to stay accurate because there's things like hurt boxes and, hit boxes. If you change the model so drastically and make him like suddenly 5 feet taller, the balance of the character is going to be out of whack. So yeah, that's probably not going to happen. And I don't think he's going to be his own separate character either. But yeah, that's the fun part of having a assist-based game. That's part of the fun and the creative thinking process is you could have any character be an assist, even characters who you can't technically put in the game to fight against. That's why Appa's here. That's why that weird other creature is here with the lady on top. So we could have a lot of support characters who you probably never see in video games. And I think that's the one bright side to take away from this. There's room for a lot of favorites to make it in, and building your team around like, hey, I want to have Aang. I'm gonna pick Aang, but I want to have the Dai Li as my support characters. I'm gonna be Aang with the Dai Li on my side. You could do stuff like that, and that's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen. You probably list any old favorites, and they're probably going to make it as a support character. The Dai Li, the Kyoshi Warriors, hell, maybe random Fire Nation troops, random water benders and earth benders. There's endless possibility here. But it all depends on how well the game plays and runs at the end of the day. Hopefully they tone it up and get everything looking better by the time it actually comes out. Azula is my favorite character in the show. Azula, I don't hate Zuko. I like Zuko. I went on a date with this one girl and we were discussing Avatar, and he was like, oh yeah, I remember that show. He's like, yeah, who's your favorite character? And I was like, yeah, damn. Let me think. I haven't thought about this shit in a long time. Like, damn, I gotta hurry up and remember this shit. Zuko, and Toph. I was like, yeah, Zuko and Toph. Yeah, those are mine. And she was like, oh, those are my favorite too. I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. I'll be in there. But yeah, I like Toph. Zuko, Toph, they're cool. I think Azula is my favorite, and I actually like Korra. I like Korra. I like Azula and Korra, and I don't know. I like all the characters. I think they all look cool, and that's the most important part. Like, Sokka is kind of the joke character, but I would pick him. I would play him. I'm already picturing throwing boomerangs out, and he's probably going to be a pretty strong character. His functionality alone makes him a strong character, but if it all depends on the execution and how they put it all together, he could be bottom tier. You never know. But I think he's already a strong contender for being one of the strongest characters in the game. But yeah, looking forward to this. Hopefully it does well. And they said they also having a campaign, a story mode of some sort. It has rollback netcode. They already announced that in the launch trailer. And yeah, this summer coming up, which isn't that far away. Not that far away. We'll get this game coming out before we get the final character of Street Fighter 6 Season 3. This game is going to come out before Season 3 of Street Fighter 6 finishes. Right? And possibly before we get the entirety of Outfit 4, which were due last year for Street Fighter 6. Outfit 4s for Street Fighter 6 were due last year. We haven't gotten them entirely yet. We're probably going to get this game coming out in full before all of the Costume 4s release for Street Fighter 6 that were due an entire year ago. We are technically in Outfit 5 territory for Street Fighter 6, but people are caught up in the loop. They're caught up in the matrix about the Outfit 4s releasing finally releasing in a slow roll, that they completely forgot about Outfit 5. And they're like, oh yeah, well, we at least have Outfit 4s to look forward to. And it's like, dog, they're a year late. They're a year late. But anyways, I have to put a little bit of Street Fighter 6 sleight of hand in here in every video. But the game is cool. I like that game. Yeah, anyways, I'm looking forward to it, and you can count on me playing this. If the Most High willing, if everything works out, if I'm still here, I will play this game. I am interested, and I'm glad this came out because it gives me something to look forward to and report on. And I can make callbacks to other fighting games. So I'll catch you on the flip side until we find out more information. I hope you are looking forward to this as well. If not, we could say why you're not looking forward to it. I don't know. You do whatever the fuck you want. But, we'll see. Catch you on the flip side. Peace, much love, stay cool, and hopefully it turns out good. Deuces.
Out of the ring. The grueling battle ended with the victory of Taki. You win.
たやすい相手だ。